Oh, two in a row. Sorry. Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCG Fam Show. To you, my YouTube buddies, what's going on? Let me know in the comments. We'll talk about it after the show. Right now, let's just get into the show. Tomatoes. Tasty. A lot of people in the garden grow lots of different vegetables, but pride yourself on the tomatoes. How do you grow really, really good tomatoes, and how can Nectar help that happen? We're going to talk about it in the clip I'm going to show you, so I'd like you to watch it. I'll talk to you after. That guy over there. This is the kind of episode I was hoping for. This is talking about the veggie thing. I'm a veggie grower and have often wondered how I ought to cater to the needs of my plants. So here's my question. How hard can you push bloom chaos on a tomato plant? And does adding any more chaos per quart to water make it more powerful? I've heard Scott say that you can even spray twice a day on cannabis. So I'm wondering if that would hold true with tomatoes as well. And thanks so much for being a beacon of constant conversation about Nectar products. I appreciate the work it takes to produce these videos and the wealth of knowledge you put out there. So he's talking about spraying. You can't do foliar on a tomato, can you?
You don't want to. Well, and really, it's more about the foliage of a tomato.
Because it's so
like
felty, or not
more
velvety,
of a velvet or a what's that leather?
Oh, so suede.
Suede.
Yeah. And so why?
It's because it's sensitive. The droplets of water can often burn.
Okay.
A lot of times they'll take in so much nutrition, you'll actually put them into either a lockout or some weird deficiency look. So really with tomatoes, you only want to root drench with those.
Okay, but they do love to eat, right?
Oh, they love eating. And boy, if you give them chaos, just increase your Herculean harvest to make sure that they can support that chaos growth. With tomatoes, you know, they're constantly setting fruit, so they start to bloom now. Like this is just a volunteer that showed up. I mean, this is where my tomatoes were last year, and these are all peppers this year. But this one popped up, and as you can see, they'll just keep producing these tiny
So you'll have like 10, 20, 30 tomatoes on there, actually,
and
still have stuff coming up. Okay.
So to make more flowers, so if you've already set some fruit, and you really want to keep that fruit production going on that tomato throughout the entire season, adding 1 to 2 teaspoons of chaos into a gallon of solution will help promote that redevelopment of flowers, have it continuously put on more fruit. About August, I'd stop using the chaos in the sense of you don't really want it to promote more flowering. Now you just want everything that's on to kind of hurry up, get big, turn red, ripen, and then finish.
Would you use any Demeters in this situation?
Demeters is always.
But more so later on, or just always on?
Always, start to finish, really, because of Demeters will bring out the nitrogen in the soil. It'll aid the azose bacteria that's in the soil that's fixing nitrogen in there. Tomatoes really like to grow with nitrogen. They really like to get big. They don't want a whole lot of nitrates, but they sure do like that protein nitrogen that's built into the soil. Chaos helps them get more of it and grow faster. Demeters will help chelate that and make it more available so the plant can grow without just being super stretchy, tons of water. The problem with tomatoes, if you just force a bunch of water in them, you get the split. You get the blossom end rot from calcium deficiency, but more importantly, you start to get the overwater
like that guy
splits.
in Seven.
Seven, the movie,
the glutton.
The 7 Deadly Sins guy?
Yeah. So, if I was using Herc and Bloom Chaos, could I use just that, or do I need to add some other stuff in there to even this out?
You better. They're tomatoes, so they want the nitrogen, the potassium, so you do want to add in a all-purpose, so Gaia or Medusa. I like Medusa in the beginning seasons. It really helps them to get big, like that bed back there are intended planted tomatoes.
Yeah, those are serious. They're up there.
This is just a seed that came out of a rotten tomato last year's harvest, so. Those I'll feed them Medusa, Gaia, Herculean, and a little bit of Chaos all the way until I start to see fruit like that second one. There's already fruit forming down to the bottom. That one I'll start increasing my Herculean. I'll start increasing Gaia, reducing Medusa, but still keeping my Chaos in there. So until about mid-August, I'll always be producing more fruit.
So if you were just doing the Herc and the Bloom Chaos, you might accidentally induce deficiencies because you're pushing so hard on other stuff.
You're not getting enough potassium, not enough nitrogen, protein. And they'll grow and they'll do just fine, but you'll start to notice, especially peppers, corn, tomatoes, they love, broccoli and cucumbers, they need that nitrogen to really get the grow on.
And where's that nitrogen coming from?
From us, it's the feather proteins, it's the Demeter's calcium chelating it from the soil, the amendment. There's one shot in all the beds, so there is some feather meal in all the beds as well. And then, yeah,
if you're just way out there on the edge, would you also do the feather meal to push that nitrogen, or would you feel pretty good with? So, what's your tomato recipe if you were just like a tomato
So in a 5-gallon bucket, I'll start with 2 capfuls, and I'm using a quart cap.
Sure. Okay.
And this is how scientific I get with my garden. 2 capfuls per 5 gallons of the feather meal tea, or Pegasus. I'll do 5 capfuls of Medusa.
Okay.
I'll do 4 capfuls of Herculean.
Okay.
2 to 3, depending on their size and what they're doing. If they're early veg or going into fruit development, I'll put 2 to 3 capfuls of Gaia.
Okay.
And I'll pH all of that to like 6.2 to 6.4 for the early season while they're growing and putting fruit on. Once they're tall and they've got fruit, and I don't want to put a whole lot more on, I'll increase that to about, 6.6, 6.7. Now I'm just focusing on making the fruit swell but not rip open.
Okay.
And just putting the meat in that tomato. So
if I were doing Bloom Chaos, where would I amend the recipe to that, and when would I do that? Just early on? And would you
pretty much all the way until you don't want to see any more flower development.
Okay.
So like I was showing you here, these little yellow flowers, you don't want a bunch more of these coming on, because once the plant starts setting fruit here, it takes that energy, pulls it from the rest of the development of ripening, just to make little tiny green tomatoes you're never going to finish.
And they're going to just add weight, and they're just going to take away in energy. And so
they're trying to ripen, but so are everything else. So I kind of look at my big overall tomato, how it looks, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop the nitrogen, I'm going to stop putting in the Chaos, and I'm only going to hit them with the Gaia, the Herc, maybe some Circes, that soluble phosphorus to really get them to finish.
And maybe like half cap, quarter cap of the Bloom Chaos.
And Demeters through all of it. So about 2 capfuls of Demeters in a 5-gallon bucket for my tomatoes, peppers.
But if you were growing some other crops where you're doing a full Greek recipe and you just poured that on the leftovers every week or so, you'd be fine with that too. This is a very intense recipe. Just throwing any of this stuff on there is going to be fine.
Oh no, that's it. Is the plant's not going to. The nice thing about Nectar is that it's so gentle. There's not a lot in there. It's going to force the plant to eat. So it's going to go in the soil. The plant's going to access what it wants. It's going to utilize it. Everything else is going to sit in the soil, bond to some organic material. The bacteria and the mycorrhiza in the soil are going to break that down, convert it into something different, and something's going to absorb it down the road.
How often?
Well,
what's too much?
Every day.
Every day is way too much. Yeah. 2
to 3 times a week would be aggressive. Once a week is minimal.
Okay, what do you think? Informative, entertaining, helpful? Agree, disagree? Let's talk about it in the comments. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. The OCG Fam Show is pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.